Aloha, everybody. This is Cathy Bilsky, the Quantum Leap Let Unite. And this is January 21st, 2025. Ooh. And before I get started, I want to change my Facebook page real quick and make it public. Dun. Oh, I love it when it's easy. All right. So this is day 5 of giving attention to the World Economic Forum and everything they do, because they are doing their dirty work in Davos and talking and chatting about how they're going to come up with more programs that are going to hurt humans and replace us and commit genocide with humans and anything nasty you can think of. They're thinking about it. Now, today I wanted to talk about, because this is the last day, and I don't know if y'all know what the fourth revolution means and how it's going to apply to us humans. And it's not good, really. Oh, goodness. Before we get started, really quick, I want to do a real short energy work. And I'm going to ask that anybody who listens to this or watches this energy work is amplified over 100,000 fold. And then we're going to talk about the fourth revolution. Now, this is something that you just need to sit back, listen to. If you want to give energy work, energy into this very, very short energy work, awesome. If not, just sit back, relax, listen to what the fourth revolution is about. All right, let there be light in the name of the presence of God, which I am, through the magnetic power, the sacred fire vested in me. If it is your will, O Creator, I command. May all the WEF Davos cyber game programs from this day forward, going backwards and forwards, have all their programs screwed up with many glitches and downtime. Let their communications get constantly disrupted by all kinds of energies and frequencies. Let all computer programmers and operators get dyslexic when around all computers that are part of that program, the fourth revolution program. See all the ones and zeros flip and keep flipping on the computers, resulting in all their programs getting scrambled. See all these, and we're also going to put huge magnets in all their computers and their backup systems, which will erase all their information, and let this be done on all their hard drives. See all these computer buildings become rat infested that chew up their wires. Let the dust mites, ants, bugs, mice, fleas, flies infect all their buildings, from hotels to homes, offices, and everywhere a computer is participating in their cyber security or anything having to do with the fourth revolution. Let the whole WEF Davos program in Mercury in retrograde, with it all falling apart. Okay, guys, so what is the fourth revolution? Now, plenty of the so-called, it's a public-private partnership, and these have existed in the US before and since World War II. In fact, they've been on all corners of the globe ever since there have been governments. Many consider them wasteful and unproductive, but we don't usually think of them as horrifying as in the above. History shows they can certainly be lived with. Besides, progressives believe in all kinds of reasons why they're beneficial. So why be so concerned about Klaus Schwab's father and his peripheral role in a long defeated regime, and whether Klaus may have learned a thing or two from him? We don't live in that world anymore. We have moved on. We have moved on indeed. In Klaus Schwab's own words, we stand on the brink of a technological revolution that will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. In its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. Cancel, clear, delete. He is describing what he and the crowd that jets into Davos call the Fourth Industrial Revolution. He continues, the first industrial revolution used water and steam power to mechanize production. The second used electrical power to create mass production. The third used electronics and information technology to automate production. Now, a fourth industrial revolution is building on the third, the digital revolution that has been occurring since the middle of the last century. It is characterized by a fusion of technology that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. He lists off a number of emerging technologies. You might have heard some of these, such as artificial intelligence, robotics, the Internet of Things, autonomous vehicles, 3D printing, nanotechnology, biotechnology, material science, energy storage, and quantum computing. Have you all heard about any of those? And the speed of current breakthroughs has no historical precedence. When compared with previous industrial revolutions, the fourth is evolving at an exponential rather than a linear pace. Moreover, it is disrupting almost every industry in every country, and the breadth and depth of these changes herald the transformation of entire systems of production, management, and governments. He tells us that the kind of impact current technology changes will have on our lives, and the economy is like nothing we've ever seen, and implies that as individuals, we are ill-equipped to face its challenges. In his 2017 book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, he writes, about 47% of total employment in the U.S. is at risk, perhaps over the next decade or two, characterized by a much broader scope of job destruction at a much faster pace than labor market shifts experienced in previous industrial revolutions. Did you hear that? 47%. Now, let me give you a really quick example of this. So, say this company develops their AI to the point that they no longer need to hire somebody to do the work because the AI does it. Well, guys, that cuts the humans out of jobs. And 47% of the humans in the job market are going to lose their jobs because of this. Now, his 2018 book, Klaus is on a roll. Shaping the Fourth Industrial Revolution, Schwab writes, we will become better able to manipulate our own genes and those of our children. These developments raise profound questions. Where do we draw the line between human and machine? What does it mean to be human? Well, Klaus, you're not human. So I understand you questioning what it means to be human. It's like saying, what does it mean to be a woman? Who is we, Klaus says. Somebody might become better in manipulating my genes and those of my children, but does it really seem to include me? Do you plan to become better at manipulating your own genes? Takes a lot of know-how. Good luck. Collectivists like Schwab's use of the word we can be both hypnotic and absurd. And the Fourth Industrial Revolution technologies therefore appear to be undermining humans' choice and ability to apply their skills and interests to meaningful work, and may lead to generations of workers living precarious and fragmented lives. Navigating these shifts will require new regulations for non-standard work, investments in adult learning, and proactive employment services. Wow, he certainly sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Is he right? Is this the future? Maybe. But in light of all we know about Klaus Schwab, assuming all of these changes come to pass, isn't it equally important to ask who benefits? Klaus tells us who should benefit. Why, everyone, of course, all the stakeholders need to be brought together in new forms of 21st century global governance, imbued with a new leadership mindset to ensure that all new technologies are designed with our collective values built in from the very start. That way, the externalities of the fourth industrial revolution can be adequately managed and promise of a new technological era can be incorporated into smart cities and bridge the digital divide to the remotest parts of the planet for the benefit of the most isolated of people. So by everybody, he literally means everybody. Okay, but besides everybody, who benefits among the listed founding partners of the WEF Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution are Salesforce, Accenture, Deloitte, Facebook, Hitachi, Huawei, McKinsey, Microsoft, Mitsubishi, Palantir, Visa, Gavi, and Vaccine Alliance, and Netflix. The major stockholders and executives of these companies are just a few of the stakeholders in the fourth revolution. Stakeholders like these are important ones because they are the ones who pay Klaus Schwab handsomely to do what he does. And that's just the private side of public-private corporation. When writing about the fourth revolution, the WEF devotes an enormous amount of print and online real estate to not just issues of privacy, but also to our collective values. These are areas for the public side of the partnership. Schwab would tell us that the role of the public side is to see that the needs and concerns of all stakeholders are heard. He also envisions a regulatory environment that is accommodating to changing and unforeseen needs. This is, however, one characteristic of the public side of the public-private partnership, without which it would be useless to Schwab and all the entities above, the government monopoly on the use of force and the threat thereof. More specifically, then, my question is, who benefits from the use of government force in the name of the fourth industrial revolution? In a World Economic Forum white paper entitled Reimagining Regulation for the Age of AI, New Zealand Pilot Project, the authors state, modern regulatory domains are so complex that they can no longer be handled by the state alone. A modern regulatory body is not authoritarian, but one part of a broader system that influences and steers through a full spectrum of approaches. Harder regulatory powers may be useful in certain situations, while soft approaches will work better in others. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen a lot of soft approaches with regulatory rules. Have you? All right. A lack of experience can be solved through giving the group the ability to call on expert advice when it is needed, like the new AIs they've come out with. Other challenges are more complex. Too narrow or specific a scope may work against regulators in area of fast-moving technology. Some regulators, such as the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, have deliberately broad remits that are intended to future-proof it if the field moves in unseen directions. Now, the companies mentioned above and countless like them don't only devote significant time and financial resources to the World Economic Forum, but also millions of dollars to the campaigns of politicians and their parties, as well as the lobbyists who write the legislations that regulates them. We're taught to believe that the purpose of government regulation is protect consumers and the public from nefarious or dangerous public business activity. In some cases, perhaps it actually does. But when it's most effective, it provides a government-enforced monopoly to a small cartel. This is an old game. In the US, it goes back to at least the first transcontinental railroads. This is accomplished with regulations written by industry lobbyists themselves, so expensive to implement that only the biggest and most politically established corporations can afford to implement them. All other competition is driven out. And what other situations where soft approaches will work better? One timely public-private partnership to highlight these days is the rollout of the vaccines, particularly when it comes to mandates. There were no widespread government enforced mandates until the Comirnaty shot by WEF partner Pfizer was approved for use by the FDA. Who benefits from the rapid approval? For Pfizer's sake, it was a good thing that the soft approach option was available, as well as a broader remit. Otherwise, more scrutiny of its safety and effectiveness would have been required. It is important to note that a current Pfizer board and WEF member, Scott Gottlieb, MD, served as FDA commissioner from 2017 to 2019. These kinds of connections are frequently referred to as the revolving door. What a coincidence. When the WEF talks about soft approach and says a modern regulatory body is not authoritarian, it seems to me not authoritarian toward the interests of the companies with the most legislative and regulatory clout, whereas it may be quite authoritarian to countless others, like those who are given vaccinated against their will to the benefit of Pfizer. So let's decode the WEF real quick. Again, the Klaus Schwab's 2018 book, Shaping the Fourth Industrial Revolution, he provides his wish list for a world dominated by such things as AI, quantum computing, and biotech. Several quotes are demonstrative of the graft agenda in the guise of concern for the well-being of humanity. A lot can be learned if one cares to read between the lines, using history and WEF actions as a guide. All technologies are political. Technologies are solutions, products, and implementations that are developed through social processes, stand in for people and institutions, and contain within them a whole set of assumptions, values, and principles that in turn can and do affect power structure and status in society. The fact that different cultures and types of values highlight differences priorities shouldn't be a roadblock to thinking through a values-based approach to technologies. On the contrary, the more we think it through, the better we will become at understanding which priorities are critical for societies and how technology affects and mediates these values. Now, this is the WEF program. Current disruptions are forcing political leaders to rethink the paradigm that shapes the relations among individual, society, and economic activity. This includes considering reforms for reshaping the social contract between individual and society. We must seek to share the benefits of this technological age among all citizens, regardless of age, income, race, or beliefs. P.S. He references a WEF white paper. In a white paper entitled A New Social Covenant, the World Economic Forum Global Agenda Council on Values, 2012 to 2014, identified a broad consensus across cultures, religions, and philosophies on some shared human aspirations, which together represent a powerful unifying ideal of valued individuals committed to one another and respectful of future generations. Now he quotes from A New Social Covenant. Many previous efforts have focused on individual rights, which are essential, but our focus is what we owe to each other. both within nations and among nations. There is great cultural diversity when it comes to values, but there is also broad consensus across cultures, religions, and philosophies on some shared human inspirations, such as the importance of a common good that transcends individual interest. Now, let's interpret what I just read, okay? Not just anyone possessing the know-how should be allowed to develop new technologies. New technology needs to be controlled and kept within the right hands. Preferably, members of the WEF are qualified to ascertain the correct assumption, values, and principles that preserve the correct centers of power, structure, and status, and which prioritize are critical for societies. The rights of individuals are impediment to bottom lines of WEF members. Everybody needs what we're selling, and we'll use the taxes and newly printed money from your government to make sure you get it. The clearest, most sinister, and disingenuous tell that stakeholder capitalism is a scam is Klaus Schwab's advocacy of a universal basic income. We can leave aside all economic arguments for and against the universal basic income in this advocacy. Schwab is showing himself in the activities of the WEF to be that of wolf in sheep's clothing, again, in shaping the fourth industrial revolution. He writes, corrupt disruptions are forcing political leaders to rethink the paradigm that shapes the relations among individual society and economic activity. This includes considering reforms for reshaping the social contract between individual and society. The discussion of universal basic income, the UBI, is one example of this conversation. The primary justification for UBI is social justice, as income increasingly goes toward land, natural resources, and intellectual property. All parts of society is collective wealth. Everybody should have a modest share of this collective wealth in the form of unconditional basic income. The process of, as he says, income increasingly going toward land, natural resources, and intellectual property is demonstrably the result of central bank policies. Here it is worth mentioning that central banks are government-enforced cartels of private banks with monopoly authority to issue legal tender currency. In a June 5th, 2021 article, Can the Great Reset Succeed and Does It Matter? The man that wrote this article pointed out of 31 members of the WEF Board of Trustees, 13 represent high-level banking interests from the US, the UK, EU, Canada, Japan, Russia, and China. 10 of the 13 hold or have held high-level government and central banking positions in and out of their respective countries. In addition, 8 WEF board members are high-level investment firm executives. In an inflationary environmental of artificially low interest rates and inflated money supplies, those who receive the new money first will quickly use it to artificially bid up the price of assets, concentrating that wealth into fewer and fewer hands, and make it nearly impossible for ordinary people to save for the future. The membership and highest governments of the WEF is made up of the central and commercial bankers who create the new money out of nothing, and those with the greatest capacity to borrow it and turn it into assets like land, natural resources, and intellectual property. In addition, asset bubbles are created by the policies of these actors, allowing them to snatch up assets for pennies on the dollar, including homes, from the individuals who are bankrupted when these bubbles finally burst. We saw this in 1999, 2008, and more recently with the COVID lockdowns. Under Schwab's vision, the central banking scam is to go to such extreme that it eliminates people's ability to make a living. And the UBI is required to keep the population pacified and compliant with the program. One can connect the events of 2008 with the incestuous relationship between Congress and the Treasury, the Fed, the world's largest investment banks, and the World Economic Forum by looking at the crisis caused by the government lockdowns of 2020 and the government response. Again, can the Great Reset succeed? And does it matter? Out of 2.2 trillion coronavirus aid relief and economic, whoa, I'm having a hard time talking today, security, which is also known as CARES Act, Congress allocated $454 billion to be used for Federal Reserve emergency lending programs. Investment giant BlackRock was appointed the sole manager for two of the lending programs. The primary market corporate credit facility, the second market corporate credit facility, these two were intended to provide access to credit so that companies could maintain business operations during the economic shock of the lockdowns. BlackRock made its fortune after the 2000 financial crisis in exchange-traded funds, ETFs. By 2020, it owned over 800 funds with 1.9 trillion in assets under management and was number one of the big three. And by 2017, had become the largest shareholder in almost 90% of S&P 500 firms, including Apple, Microsoft, ExxonMobil, General Electric, and Coca-Cola. In addition, BlackRock owns major interests in nearly every mega bank in major media. Now, the SMCCF began operating in May 12, 2020. As of May 30th, the only purchases made under the BlackRock administration facility were ETFs, mainly owned by BlackRock itself. Wow, between May 14th and May 20th, about 1.58 billion ETFs were brought through this fund, of which 746 million, or about 47%, came from BlackRock ETFs. BlackRock was using its position as sole manager of this fund to buy ETFs in the name of the Fed, owned by BlackRock itself. This gave BlackRock a golden opportunity to self-deal. The story finishes itself when we realize that BlackRock chairman and CEO Larry Fink also sits on the board of trustees in the World Economic Forum. When Klaus Schwab advocates for UBI, it's not of concern for social justice. It's because apparently central banking is a scam that extends so far, and its impoverishment of individuals is so complete that impairs the perpetrator's ability to carry out the scam out even farther. If the banksters don't hand back a few crumbs from what they've stolen, the resulting social interest could mean the end of the party. At this point, it's such a stretch to interfere with this creation. The World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, is following in the footsteps as such men as his father, Eugene Schwab, Henry Kissinger, and Herman Obbs. Nazis, even a stretch to guess he is aiming to outdo them. If you're not convinced, then listen to the following. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better. I'm sure you've heard that phrase coming from the WEF. The potential need for a UBI is a symptom of the financial system designed for the stealth extradition of wealth and resources from the population as a whole, and consequently fosters dependence upon it. Such is level of Dependence for life itself necessarily results in greater and greater control over the behavior and movements of individuals. Nowhere is this more succinctly illustrated in the 2016 World Economic Forum article written, "Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better." Written by Danish MP Ida Auken. In it, she presents an urban future where all goods are provided as services chosen for you by AI algorithm based on your prior choices. Choices which are not your private business, but data that belongs to the AI cloud. Now, who owns the AI cloud? We know who created the cloud, and that was Salesforce. And Salesforce is a part of the WEF. Just saying, history. But again, now who owns the AI cloud? All right, in it, this woman laments that her biggest concern is all people who do not live in our cities. Those, and he's talking about the 15-minute cities. Those who got upset with the political system and turned against it, they lived different kind of lives in the empty and abandoned houses in small 19th century villages. She seems to be saying the political dissenters will be confined to ghettos, but then goes on to say, I have no real privacy, nowhere I can go and not be registered. I know that somewhere everything I do, think, and dream of is recorded. I just hope that nobody will use it against me. I just hope that nobody will use it against me. She doesn't even hint at what she might be doing, able to do, if anything. If somebody does it against her or who that someone might be, we do not know that somebody will possess a highly advanced version of total information awareness and be part of a class of people who own everything, to her nothing. She has no agency, no power, and it's either this utopian fishbowl existence or the ghetto. And she goes on to say, all in all, it is a good life. A good life for whom? Keep in mind, she's a parliamentarian of a Western European country, and thus certainly a stakeholder, or possibly a literally stakeholder in the own everything pie. So sure for Auken and a few fortunate few, life has never been better. Incidentally, Internet Archive shows increased interest in the 26th article during the month of November. And November 20th, the provocative title was changed to, Here's How Life Could Change in My City by the Year 2030. You may notice the preceding link with the new title is broken. Searching for it on the WEF website also won't give it to you either, except for the Internet Archive and a few other sites. Has been effectively memory hold. And just real quick, and I'm not going to go into this whole article, but in January 2020, the WEF meeting in Davos, futurist historian Yuval Noah Harari gave a speech. Gestapo, KGB, hackable animals, get used to the idea. After all the above, does that kind of send a chill? He considers us humans as hackable animals. We're bottom feeders. And that's what it is to the fourth revolution. To sum it up, they want us replaced by the AI. They want to take everything away from us. You either come into their cities or they want to put us in a ghetto. The WEF people are sick and twisted elites. And I believe they're very reptilian of nature. Now, there might be one or two exceptions, but most of them are reptilian. They're angry, they're hateful, and they want and they plan and they are doing it. They are committing genocide against humans, against humanity, and they need to be stopped. So imagine The government's finally awakening to the WEF and their policies. Imagine Trump getting out of the WEF. And I don't know if you know it, but the United States also funds part of the WEF. Yeah, how do you like that one? So I'm going to ask Spirit to help Trump get out of the WEF like he is the WHO, pull out of it. See other countries pulling out of it, and the WEF, the WHO disbanded. And I had to throw the WHO in there just because. All right, guys. Well, I hope that explains what the fourth revolution is. It's not pretty for humans. And I hope Mercury in retrograde applies to it now, and it falls apart. And it just totally falls apart. Okay, guys, have a nice weekend. And that does end the number 5 WEF week. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Aloha.